Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're in grade 5, unit 3, and this is lesson 3. So, lesson 3 is telling us we're going to focus on modeling the products. And again, this is another of my favorite lessons because you will hear me say over and over and over, we should be modeling out math. The first step in learning something is actually working with real materials and modeling it out. So that's what they want us to do. We want to remind ourselves that a factor times a factor equals the product. So one number times another number equals the answer. And so the answer is the product. So when we're modeling the products, we're going to model the factors to show the product. So please do pause the video and collect some materials. For my modeling today, I've just collected a bunch of note cards. You don't have to use note cards. You can use a ton of different things. In fact, if you just have a piece of paper, you could cut them into similar sized pieces. The reason I'm choosing note cards is because they're already cut in the same size pieces, but you might not have these at your house. In fact, I had to order them from Amazon so I can show you this. So you might not have this. That's okay. Just use a piece of paper and cut it in half. Take a few sheets of paper and cut them in half, and then you'll automatically have same size pieces, or cut them in 1/4. You'll practice with your fractions and you'll have similar size pieces. So you just need something that you can make sure is roughly the same size, because otherwise it's really hard to understand what's going on. It's hard to kind of see it modeled. But if you got similar size pieces, you're in good shape. So pause the video. If you don't have materials with you, pause it. Get a bunch of things that are the same size and can be divided, like paper, and then come right back. Okay, we're starting on number 1 on page 89, and it says Farmer Smith has 4 acres of land. Now, if you're not familiar with the size of an acre, it's roughly the size of a football field. So if you think about, if you've gone to a football game before, and you think about the size of the field, that's about 1 acre. So Farmer Smith plows a third of her land. How much does she plow? So when she plows 1/3 of it, it means the land, she plows 1/3 of it. Remember, of is another way to say multiplication. 1/3 of a group of 4 acres. 1/3 times 4. So let me write those things down for us. Okay, so we have 1/3 of the 4 acres. She plows 1/3 of the 4 acres, which also means 1/3 times 4. Of means times. Or 1/3 of a group. Times means groups of. Groups of. See how that word of is in there? Groups of. 1/3 of a group of 4. Now, it wants us to model that out. So let's grab our materials. Hopefully you paused it earlier and grab your materials. Now, she has 4 acres. So it makes sense that I'm going to lay out 4 acres. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I hope you're doing this along with me. Don't just let me be over here playing with math and you just watching. Please, please, please be playing with me. So here's her 4 acres. Now she plows a third of that. So how do we know how much we should cut it into? Well, remember, the bottom number in a fraction tells us how many equal pieces it's cut into. So we need to cut this into 3 equal pieces. Now, they don't have to be exactly perfect. It's a little tricky, but I'll show you how I do it. I just take one and kind of gently fold it in, the other gently fold it in over the top till they're about the same, and I kind of try to put them in back and forth, until they are just about the same, and then I squish it down like that. So there's my 3 equal pieces right there. Okay, so you can see my 3 equal pieces. I just put one down and the other one down. Now you want to have to adjust it a little bit so they're about the same. We're going to pretend that those are the same. I'm going to do that 3 more times. Okay, so if you're in the same boat as I am now, you've got 4 pieces all folded. You can see very nicely folded into thirds. Now, after you fold them, then we're going to open them back up and draw some lines. I'm going to draw some lines to make sure that we can easily see those folds when we open them. So you can go ahead and do that too. Okay, so it's easy to see. Now, she says that she's plowing 1 out of 3 pieces for each group of 4. She's plowing 1 out of 3 for each one of the 4. So 1 out of the 3 means she plows that one in that acre. Over here, does she have to plow this exact same one, or could she plow this middle one, or could she plow this one? Doesn't matter. Just says she only does 1. So we could do 1 of anything. So let's say on this field, on that acre, she wanted that part plowed. Maybe she did. Maybe she's planting something different that needs to go there. Is she done plowing? Nope, she's not done yet because she has 4 acres and she plowed 1/3 of all of them. So she's going to plow that one. And then there's 1 more acre that she still needs to plow 1/3 of. So let's say this one, she wants to do around this one. So now she's plowed 1/3 of each of those 4 acres. How much has she plowed altogether? Well, it wants us to give a number sentence. And when multiplication, remember, is repeated addition. It's like adding over and over and over and over, but just doing a lot faster. So it wants us to give a repeated addition number sentence for this. Let's do that. All right, here's our multiplication problem. So we have 1/3 here plus 1/3 here plus 1/3 here plus 1/3 here. What does that equal? 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/3. It equals 4 thirds. Are we going to leave that like that, though? I hope you're saying no. What's going on with this? It's an improper fraction. We usually don't want improper fractions as the answer. We usually want them as mixed numbers. So if we put all of these thirds together, this one and that one and this one, there's a whole, and we still have 1 more left over. So 4 thirds is 1 whole acre and an additional 1/3. So we're going to write the answer as 1 and 1/3 acres. All right, let's go on to number 5. Number 5 says Olga walks 9 blocks to school. This name can either be Louis or it could be Louis. So we don't know how to pronounce it necessarily. So we're just going to say Louis, but it might be Louis. So Louis walks 1/5 of that distance. So let's start thinking about what number sentence could we write. She walks 9 blocks. Louis walks 1/5 of that distance. I hear the word of. So he walks 1/5 of that distance. And what's that distance? 9 blocks. Olga walks 9 blocks. He walks 1/5 of that distance. So 1/5 of 9. 1/5 of 9. You can think of it as 1/5 of a group of 9. So all of those are ways to think about it. So let's see what we can do to solve it. Now, first of all, our book is asking us to model. Modeling is different than actually drawing a picture. It is a different idea. And it's a little bit, it means you have a little bit more knowledge about it if you're able to just draw it rather than model it out. So if you start doing this and you say, I don't know how to draw this, our book you can see is drawing, even though they're saying modeling, they're actually drawing. But if you say, I don't know how to draw this, go back and model it out. You need 9 of these. It's 9 blocks long. How many are we going to fold them into? The denominator tells us the number of equal pieces. So we need to fold it into 5. Now, folding something into 5 is tricky, but drawing it into 5 on the paper isn't as tricky as folding it. Now, you've heard me say this before, but when you're going to cut something into an unequal amount, you can't start out by drawing a line right down the middle because that's 2 equal sides. That would only be an even number. So odd numbers, here's how I do it. I start out with the space that's my odd number in the middle. Once I've got that space down, then I'm good to go. Because then I have 1, I need to draw 5. So I just cut this part in half. 1, 2, I cut this part in half. 1, 2, and I have 5 equal things. And I didn't have to erase and start because I started with that odd number in the middle and then divided out the rest. So if this helps you, take your paper. How many do you need? You need 9 of them for this question. Draw them into 5 to help you. If you say, no, I think I can draw this, let's try that too. So we're going to take this is the road that they walk to school, and it is 9 blocks long. 9's an odd number. How are you going to divide it without having to erase and try again, which you can. It's absolutely fine, and I have done that many times myself. I'm not going to lie. But if you say, oh, I'm kind of getting tired of having to just guess and draw, try the strategy of putting the one in the middle. There's the odd one. Now there's an even number on each side. So it's 9. So this is 1. That means I have 8 left. So I need to do 4 on one side, 4 on the other. Well, I know how to divide something in 4 fairly easily. I put a line down the middle for 2, and then I cut both of those in half again. Now I'm done with that. Got to do that on the same side. Again, it's 4. So I put my line down the middle, cut that in half, cut that in half. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, they're not perfect, but they're pretty awesome, and I didn't have to try and erase, and draw again, So please try that if you haven't tried it before. Now, are we done? No, because he only walks 1/5 of the distance. He only walks 1/5 of this 9. So we have to draw each of these 9 into 5 sections. I'm going to get a different color marker to do that. All right, I got my red. I hope you're drawing along with me. Remember, you can pause at any time to stop and draw. Now, I'm going to cut them in 5 going this way so I don't get so confused, because going up and down would just be too confusing. But here's the thing. Remember, it's an odd number again. So I'm going to use the same technique that I used before. I'm going to draw my middle line. Like that. That takes the odd number out. Now both of these are even. I'm doing 5. So there's 1. I have 4 left. So I have 2 places for 4. So 1 is 2 and the other one is 2. Well, I know how to cut something in 2 really easy. Just draw down the middle. Look at that. Now, again, it's not perfect, but it looks pretty awesome, and I didn't have to waste a lot of time, and I didn't have to erase over and over. So please, as we're going, please do try this technique if it's not familiar for you. Now, how many did he walk out of every 9? He walked 1 out of the 5 pieces. So he walked 1 there. Could be 1 here. Doesn't have to be, but it could be. 1 out of the 5. 1 out of 5 in that block. 1 out of 5 in that block. 1 out of the 5. 1 out of the 5. 1 out of the 5. And 1 out of the 5. How do we find what the answer is? Well, we need to add them up. Or we could multiply. But remember, multiplication is repeated addition. So this is 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. Keep going. All right, look at all those 1/5s. Okay, when we add them all up, each time we add 5 up, something happens. What happens when we add 5 of them up? Here, we get 5/5. 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 is 5/5. What is that? Well, it's a whole. What about this? 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4. So this part is 4/5. So our answer is 1 whole and 4/5. 1 and 4/5 blocks. Okay, page 90 wants us to not model it or not draw it, but they want us to use a number line to show it. The tricky thing when you look at this page, let me hold it up here. The tricky thing about this is that the size of the number line keeps changing in each problem. The distance between 0 and 1 or 0 and 2 or whatever is quite different each time. That's okay. How we have to figure out how to solve that then is we have to know how many pieces we're cutting each of those 1 chunks into. In this particular case, this is number 1. The problem is 1/7 of 2. So we know that we have 2 here. We have to fill in the other things based on the numbers in the problem. So this is 0 to 2. What's going to be right in the middle? Well, I hope you said it was 1. There's 1. Can we figure out the problem yet? No. We need to cut each of these now into a certain number so that we can use this number line to figure it out. But the trouble is, how are we going to know what to cut it into? We got to look at this number, the denominator. It's cut into 7 equal pieces. So we have to cut each of these 1 unit chunks, no matter how big or small they are, we've got to cut them into 7 pieces. So it's an odd number again. They're giving us a lot of odd numbers, so I hope you're practicing your odd number drawing and cutting. In between here, I'm going to start with there's my odd number. There it is. There's the space for my odd number. Now I have to do 7. So I've done 1. That means I have 6 left. They have to go on both sides. So 6 put on both sides would be 3. 3 has to go over here. 3 has to go over here. Now 3 is trickier, but I can do it because I've divided things in thirds before. So I'm just going to look and try to eyeball it. Same thing over here. I'm going to try to draw those 2 lines so that it creates 3. There, that one's done for me. I got to do the same thing here. So again, I'm going to draw my middle one. There's my odd number. Now I have 3 on each side. Remember, if you're cutting something into 3, if you're drawing it and cutting it into 3, you only need 2 lines because 2 lines will create 3 pieces. So 1, 2. Now I have 3 lines there. 1, 2. Now I'm good. I've done sevenths. I've cut each of these 2 into sevenths. Now, this says that I have 1/7 of one and 1/7 of the other. 1/7 of a group of 2. So there's 1/7 right there. Here's 1/7 of the other one. There it is. So how much was my answer? 1/7 of a group of 2 is 2/7. All right, let's look at part B of number 7. Part B says it's not 1/7, it's 3/7 of a group of 2. 3/7 of a group of 2. So we have 1/7, we need to add one more and one more. And this time I'm just put them in a box around them so I don't get rid of the line. In fact, I'm going to change that because maybe that's a better way to show it. So we keep being able to see it. So there's 1, 2, 3 of the chunks out of 1. Here is 1, 2, 3 of the chunks out of number 2. So how much is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 of them. And the pieces are sevenths because we cut the whole into 7 pieces. So 3/7 of a group of 2 is 6/7. Good luck. We'll see you next time.